What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Chris, man. We are here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. My name is Chris Drummond. I am a sports reporter, freelancer, also a casino host, also host of this Work Hard, Play Harder podcast, where I bring people on not only in my genre and my profession, which is journalism, but in all genres, walks of life, and learn about their why of why they do what they do and who they are as an individual. Today's special guest is Elizabeth Gabbert. She's a morning show producer based out of Nashville, Tennessee, but have been a producer at other stops as well. She's also a University of Kentucky graduate. So we're going to talk to her about her why she does what she does, ask her some favorite questions, get to know her and her journey a little bit as well. So without any further ado, I introduce to you the wonderful, the talented Elizabeth. Hello, good morning. How you doing?
Good. How are you? Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely, I hear you. Just
Perfect.
want to say thank you for hopping on my podcast. I really do appreciate it. Work hard, play harder. How's your week
Yeah,
going
no,
so far?
it's going a little busy because I had days off last week. So I'm trying to get back in the groove of things.
I understand. I understand. Oh, I love that accent. Are you from the South? Okay,
I share.
I love it. What part?
Kentucky, Western Kentucky.
Western Kentucky. Okay, I came from Atlanta, Georgia, so I feel you on that. So I love that. Okay,
Okay.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Before I start peppering you with all these questions, let me reiterate to you why I wanted to have you on here. I
Okay.
know you're a morning show producer down there in Nashville, Tennessee. I know you've had
hmm
other stops as well, producing as well. Obviously, I'm a sports reporter, so we're both in the journalism realm. I love talking to other people and getting to know their stories of how they came into the industry and why they came into the industry. So it was just a pleasure for me to be able to talk to somebody who's likewise, who does producing, who is in a big market like Nashville and a beautiful city like Nashville. So it was a no-brainer to me to have you on here and talk to you and break bread and get to know you a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Sounds great.
I love it. Okay, so here we go. First question I always have, Elizabeth, is the same question I have for all my guests that's on the show. It is, what is your why, right? What is your why of why you do what you do? Did you have any role models growing up? Were there any inspirational people that you just sought out? Like, what made you gear towards your journalism?
Well, I will say that I didn't always know I wanted to be a journalist. But growing up, like English and spelling and writing was always like my stronger suit. And so at first I was more interested into like design and things like that. And then I was told like, interior design is very niche. And if you wanted to get into it, like it would require you to live in certain places, maybe like larger cities, just to get a clientele. And I was like, okay. But growing up, I also always watched the news with my parents and my
Mhm.
brother. It was a part of our dinner, so eating dinner while the evening news is on. So I've always, you know, been around it, listened to it, watched it. And then as I got older, I was really interested in like entertainment news, which is not really news. It's just, gossip essentially.
Right,
And, you
right.
know, and then I am a really big sports girl. Like we grew up playing sports. I was in athletics. So I also liked sports, but then you quickly learn when you go through school that everyone likes sports. Everyone wants to do sports.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when you get a sports job, you're lucky. Um, so I went through at UK. I went to the University of Kentucky, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just pursue journalism, even though UK does have a great design program. I never really thought about that once someone told me, hey, it might be more work to get to building a clientele if you pursue that. And I was like, okay. So here I am
I
years
love it.
later. Yeah.
I love it. That is awesome. Let me guess. The sports that you played, did you play softball?
No.
No. What sport
No,
did you
no.
play?
I kind of dabbled with everything. I started in ballet and did tap, and then I went from that to gymnastics and soccer, and then that's really it. I mean, I played t-ball. Does that count?
I mean, I'm sure, yeah, like when you're like 5, sure, T-ball does count. It does count as a sport. You are running, so you're pretty active. I would have said
Yeah.
soccer too, though. I would have said soccer as well. But wow,
Okay.
okay, I like that. That's pretty awesome. You mentioned the University of Kentucky, so you're a
Hmm.
Wildcat alum. Uh, Tell me, were there any other schools that you have been persuaded to go to other than the University of Kentucky?
Well, I didn't even tour UK just because my mom went there and my brother went there, my grandma went there.
Oh
So
wow,
yeah, a lot of us have gone there. And I toured Western because Western's known for their journalism program or known to have a good, decent journalism program. So I was like, let me just tour Western. And then I got to thinking, like, what opportunities I would be presented possibly if I went to each school. And I don't know, it's pretty easy to me to decide go to UK and be exposed to the SEC or go to Western and be exposed to, another conference that I wasn't really familiar with. So
sure.
I figured that like I would enjoy myself much more at UK and in Lexington since I have family that live there and since I know more about it. So I didn't even
Absolutely.
I didn't even apply to Western. I just toured and then I did apply to another school only because my mom was like, "Don't you think you should apply somewhere else?" And I was like, "No." But I did anyways,
Yeah, yeah. Typical moms that
Yeah.
normally do that. I know my mama did that too. I ended up going to Kennesaw State University, but my
Okay.
first choice was actually UGA. I also wanted to kind of do an SEC school, but I did not have the grades to get in there, unfortunately. So I had to go to a state school that was closer. So I totally understand. Talk to me about the atmosphere that in Kentucky, because I've never been to Kentucky before, but I know
Okay.
basketball is crazy. Rupp Arena got to be crazy up in there. Talk to me about if you ever been to a basketball game or a football game and how that atmosphere was.
Yeah, of course. I don't think you can grow up a Kentucky fan and not like go to a game. I
Mm.
was just fortunate enough to get to go as a student, and it's much cheaper to go as a student than it is to go as like, a random person.
Sure.
But grew up going to games. We would go to one every so often. I remember Rondo playing when I was little. We would go to,
Mhm.
well, I went to one of his games. And then when I was at UK, Devin Booker, the Harrison twins, Karl Anthony Towns, Lloyd
Yep.
Cauley-Stein, all of them people were there. Um, so it was kind of cool to like just be in the area when they were just because you say their name and you know who they are.
Yep.
No one necessarily might like connect UK to them, but I do and I know. And like just because a lot of them go through the communications program and that's what part of my degree is in, I was around them. So but atmosphere is crazy. I'm sure you've heard about fans lining up before games hours before to get
Yeah.
the best seats, to get the good tickets. That was all a thing whenever I was there. I remember waiting in line for several hours for a big Kansas game. Kansas was like still is a big rival. Um,
Absolutely.
and we played them pretty early on in the season too. So that was always a good experience. And then we had students to like get lucky to get drawn for the lottery system that they had in place whenever I was a freshman at the time. But I
Wow.
would make my work schedule based off of the athletic schedule for football and basketball, just because like I figured like that was like once in a lifetime experience that you're never gonna be able to get back. So I went to the games and I worked around the games to make and like made money working around the games so I could pay my rent. But I
Mm.
also went to football games as well. football is becoming more of a talker at UK,
It
as
is.
it should be. I
Yep.
didn't really realize that football brings in more revenue than basketball, but it makes sense because the stadium's larger, so you can
Right.
fill it up with more people. So yeah, we did a lottery system for the basketball games. Students got to pay $5 for each ticket if their group got selected, and mine luckily got selected every time. And then for
Wow.
my yeah, I was lucky. For my junior and senior year, I think they transition for I don't know if it was my junior year, but I think it was. I can't remember. But they transitioned to like an app thing, and so like
Okay.
you could go basically I see it as a way to promote the other athletic programs. So if you had the app, you could get points by signing in or checking in at games. So say I went to a baseball game, I earned like 20 points. And so you go to these games, you check in, and then there's a leaderboard. And when it comes to basketball season, if you're above a certain threshold with points, you automatically get tickets.
I
And
love it.
then, yeah, so I got lucky because I not only had to cover some of the games for my degree for journalism, but we had a program, newscast that we put on every week. But like I wanted to genuinely go. So that's how I got my points. And then if you stayed the whole length of a football game, you got extra points. They would hand out cards to give you to scan. So it like promoted little friendly competition because everyone wanted to go to the games and they didn't have the allotment for students. So that's how you got the tickets.
I love it. I do. On here with morning show producer Elizabeth Gabbert on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. I want to get into some favorite questions, Elizabeth, and you just give me the 411 off the rip based upon these
Okay.
questions. Are you with me?
Yeah.
All right, here we
I'll give
go.
it to you.
Here we go. Favorite meal you like to cook?
Oh, anything that has to do with Mexican food.
Anything that has to do with what?
Mexican food.
Oh, okay. We're gonna be some good friends. I'll tell you that. We're gonna be good friends, Elizabeth, because I love me some Mexican food as well.
Hmm.
I do. That's one of my favorite dishes, Mexican and Italian, for sure. Okay. Um, favorite concert you've ever attended?
Don't hate me for this. I'm a big Swiftie, but I've got to say Justin Bieber for sure.
Okay, no, I've heard that on here. Justin Bieber for sure. I love Taylor Swift's Fortnite song. I like that song
Okay. Okay.
quite a bit. I'm a huge Post Malone fan, so anything Post Malone, I'm with. So I love that.
Yeah.
Okay. Favorite sport you like to watch on TV? Favorite sport you like to attend in person?
I think favorite sport I like to watch on TV has to be basketball.
Okay.
Favorite sport I like to attend in person has to be football. If I'm being
Okay. Now,
honest.
who are your favorite teams in basketball and football?
I went to an SEC school. I'm a big college athletic girl. UK, I like UK. And I will say I'm a little bandwagoner fan for the Chiefs just because my boyfriend likes the Chiefs, you know.
Okay.
But also I worked in Louisville for 2 years and was friends with a lot of Bengals fans. So I never went to a game, but they look really fun.
Okay. Awesome. I like that. Favorite place you ever traveled to?
Favorite place I've ever traveled to. Right now, I will have to say Arizona. Grand
Wow.
Canyon. Did the whole thing. Grand Canyon. Did a 3-hour horseback ride outside of Phoenix. Was in the mountains a little bit. Liked it all.
Okay. I love me some Phoenix now. I don't think I've ever been to Grand Canyon, but or Arizona. Sorry. Love me some Arizona. Phoenix is one of my favorite cities. No doubt
Mhm.
about it. Okay. I'm with you on that. Last of the favorites. Favorite restaurant there in Nashville you like to eat at? Now, I've been to Nashville a few times, so I know they got some good food there.
Yeah, that's hard. I don't know. I haven't working overnight. I only get to go out on the weekends, really. Um, I don't have a favorite. I will say that I've been to this upscale Italian restaurant called Pilato. It's
Okay.
in Germantown, and it was wonderful. I didn't know what to expect just because I had never been to a place like that before, but everything is like single serve dishes,
Yeah.
and I was like, wow, okay, this is crazy. It was a lot of food, but I ate it all because like you had to. It was the experience.
I love it. I love that. Let me ask you, what is your favorite bar? Mine is probably Tootsie's. I like Tootsie's there.
Tootsies. Okay. I don't think I can say I have a favorite just because there's so many.
There is a
And
lot.
but I will say I like to tell people like I live here, so like I try to stay away from Broadway because there's just so many people there all the time. But if we're talking Broadway, I like Old Reds, which is Blake Shelton's bar.
Oh, that definitely a good bar. Kid Rocks is on that same one too. So I like that one.
You can never get in there though. There's a lot of bars that like there's always a line for now that there used to not be. I'm also gonna have to go check out Lainey Wilson's new bar that was in Florida Georgia Line, and I loved going there just because I mean every bar turns into like a club essentially at night, and it's just
That
different to see all the differences.
that is very true. Have you ever rode on the bus where they're drinking? You see the bus that you go? You haven't done that yet. Okay.
No,
Put that on the bucket list. You got to do it at least one time. At least one time. I'm sure you probably
yeah,
been to the Ryman Theater and the Grand Ole Opry down there. No, not that. Oh,
never.
so I toured it. I toured it there as a when I went there the first time, which was years ago. It was cool. It was cool. It was a new experience. I've never ever toured something like that before. So yes, I have been there. But you should put that on the bucket list too, for sure.
It is. It's definitely on the bucket list. I definitely want to go.
Okay, I love that. Now, let's talk about your day to day, right?
Okay.
You're a morning show producer there in Nashville. I would love to know, what does Elizabeth do overnight, right? When she works overnight, because it's definitely weird hours. It's not business type hours to be working overnight as a producer of a show. But talk to me about what you do from a day to day basis.
Okay, so I drag myself out of bed. Gotta talk myself up to that. That's the first thing. And then I get to work before midnight, like around 11:30-ish. And then there is four of us normally, 3 days a week. And then for the last 2 days of the week, there's just three of us. But the extra producer, she helps with the 4 a.m. most days. And so they have their own little thing going on. And then I, being the 6 a.m. producer, help write an hour worth of news with the 5 a.m. producer. And then from that, I pick what content I want from my show. And then we share content. So like not everything's written by like one specific producer here, which makes it easier just because I have so many other things that I have to do and juggle. So it's easier to just share content.
I
Um,
like
yeah, so and like there that doesn't go to say like I don't like change up stories that other people write because I do. That's just part of the job. But we decided collectively like this is easiest if we do it this way, just because it'll save our sanity somewhere else down the line. So I we all me and the other girl have our methods. I look for regional content from Kentucky. She looks for regional content from Tennessee just because we do have viewers that live in Kentucky. It's not like our main viewership area, but I mean, we still have to cater to them as well.
sure.
So I do that because I worked in Kentucky, and then she looks at all the stations in Tennessee to see like if there's anything that we can pull from, and
Okay.
then after that we decide what we want our two reporters to do and what we want our alert desk reporter to do. And essentially, when I say alert desk, it's would be a third reporter essentially, like another story that we didn't assign like a local reporter on. It could be national news, it could be local news. We try to keep it as local as possible. And then
Okay.
if we put her on national stories, it's going to be stories that anyone would be interested in. So today we had the Hunter Biden trial, and
Yeah.
then the Israel Hamas ceasefire talks. So those were her two national stories today. So then we send that off to our executive producer, and then she signs off on that and sends them the information they need for that. And then we get to writing, and we write until our show.
I love it.
And then,
I do.
yeah, so essentially our, you know how this works. The show is like the kind of last thing of the day. So we're always working on a deadline, and 6 a.m. is my deadline.
I definitely know what that is. Me being a sports reporter, going out to these schools, covering different. We have a college here, and we have 12 high schools. So I cover different sports and within the high school. So I write feature stories, game previews, editorials, recaps. Recaps are starting to get more and more kind of out the way now because people can just click and find it anywhere. But I do that for my sports reporting, edit photos, shoot photos. I learned how to do page design when I was here too, while I've been here too. So I'm picking up new skills. So no doubt, I definitely understand that what you're doing. The overnight time slot has to be a little bit crazy at times, adjusting to that schedule. How long did it take you to adjust to that schedule? Or have you always been overnight at every other stop?
So good question. My first station, I worked there for a little under a year. I was on nights. So I would work 2:30 to 11:30, and sometimes wouldn't leave until 12:30 or 1 o'clock, depending on the day. And then when I moved to my second station, I started on nights, but they moved me into mornings just because I knew the person that I was going to be working with, and we worked well together. So and they needed an extra hand. So that was the start of the overnights. And that anchor that I worked with there, he told me, he said, it takes you a year to get used to your schedule. And he said, and if you ever get off of your schedule, it's going to take you a year to get back on. And that is so true. I have been mostly overnights ever since after I moved from that station to Louisville. I was on like a flipped schedule per se. So on the weekends, I would work 2 12s, and then Monday and Tuesday, I would work dayside.
Wow.
And yeah, that was crazy. I did not enjoy that, and my news director knows I did not enjoy that.
I bet you didn't. I can imagine.
I liked, because I only worked 4 days a week. I didn't have 5 days, so I did have 3 days off during the week, and that was nice. But still, like, flipping sleep is not something I ever want to have to do forever, because it just drains you. It doesn't matter how long you sleep, you're still tired. Especially going from overnight to days, like different hours.
Right.
So
right.
I've been on mornings. I did that for about 8 months and then moved to mornings. So I would say collectively I've been on overnights. I've been here about a year and a half. I did that in Louisville for about 10, not 10 months. I was there about 2 years. I would say I've done it for 4 years.
So you've done it. So obviously you've done it multiple times. The reason why I asked the question is because I too worked overnight in a different industry, but I worked 9 to 9. And I know the overnight is a grind, and it took me a while to adjust to that as well. But this is also a great segue to this next question, which has to do with your mental health. Anytime that you're not working business type hours or regular type of hours, sometimes it can become a grind, especially in journalism. We work long hours. You have breaking news. You stay longer, like I said, than you have to. Talk to me about how do you keep your mental health strong, but also keep a work-life balance. Like you said, you have a boyfriend, you have friends. You seem very personable. I wouldn't mind hanging out with you. That's for sure. So how do you keep your mental health strong, but still also have that work-life balance to separate work from regular life?
It's hard. I haven't figured it out, to be honest. I'm very open about struggling with sleep and getting up out of the bed, and like, we have health issues to deal with too that can kind of hinder it as well. So it's difficult. there is some leniency, I feel like, with this schedule, just because like people understand like it's not easy to work overnight and it's not easy to wake up at 10 p.m. For me, the one thing that like I have found that has been like the most help and the most beneficial is just to find a schedule and stick with it. I moved here over a year ago and I still haven't gotten to that schedule here in Nashville just because the logistics of everything is just so different. You know, in Louisville, I was able to go home and go right to bed and then wake up at like 5 or 6 and then hit the gym just to get that mental clarity. That was what I needed.
Sure.
And health wise too. But here, you know, my gym where I live isn't that great. So I've had to get a gym membership and then you have to drive to the gym and you know, it's just become this whole thing. And
Right.
when you get off work, you're tired. And so I'm like, okay, well, I need a nap. And then sometimes the nap turns into an 8 hour slumber. So it's just like,
Mhm. I
you know,
know it.
so for me getting into a routine is like key. And then, you know, hitting the gym. That's the one thing that has helped. Also during COVID, I got a cat because it was lonely times. And I was 8 hours away from home, so that was difficult. So I have her, and she's kind of. I'm surprised she hasn't made noise. She usually comes in here to see what I'm doing to bug me. But so just having like that extra little companion per se helps. But you know, I don't know. Like I have thought about this a lot. And when I first started my career, I realized really quickly that like you have to rely on your coworkers to be your friends when you're
Yeah.
not, when you're nowhere in your home. And that's the hardest part because you want to have like a work life balance, but then your work becomes your life because you're friends with your coworkers and that's all you have. Um, so that's been a difficult to navigate. When I have noticed that, you know, when you work your way up through the markets, that you work with so many more people that it could be not as easy to find friends that are work friends, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it
Um,
does.
but I feel like with the shift that I'm on, like you have to be friends with people you work with just because like you see them all the time and that's who you work with. And, you know, on the weekends, they're on your schedule. So they're the ones that are available when you are to do things sometimes, you know. Um, so I don't know. I don't know that I have an answer. I do know that I have realized that you know, a lot of people are talking about mental health more, and that's important. And
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
it's relevant in our industry more than ever, just because people are leaving the industry and then others that are still in the industry are having to pick up more work, you know.
Yep.
So it's just kind of like a domino effect, really. I don't know. I don't have, I wish I had an answer for myself, but I don't.
No, listen, I think we're all struggling as people in the journalistic field, right? Because it's no perfect answer to that
Mm-mm.
question. It's a very hard question, right? Everybody's schedules is different. Everybody' mental health is different. For me, I like to work out as well. I like to write poetry. I like to go take walks. Obviously, when it's not cold outside, because I'm based in Minnesota, so in the wintertime, hell no, I'm not going out
Mm,
taking no walks. But
brutal.
um, right? So, but at the same time, those are things that are relaxing. I also call my mother back home. I'm a huge mama's boy, so I love to call her and see how she's doing. Call my dad, who's in upstate New York. I totally get when being by yourself because I'm by myself out here, so I totally understand that. Elizabeth, if somebody came to you and said, "I want to be a producer like you," I want to be in that field, and I like to produce. I like to kind of control things because that's what producers do. They kind of control things. So, what is some advice that you would give someone that came up to you that was like, "I want to do what you do"?
Well, first, I want to backtrack because I do want to add to that point that I just made about the whole mental health thing. I don't want to steer people away from the industry because I think that what we do is important, but
Absolutely.
people do need to be aware of like what they're walking into. And
Absolutely.
I think that's something that is really important that professors and other mentors like really like hit on before. Like these people apply for jobs and they get jobs and realize like, this is what I'm gonna have to deal with. Yes, it is what you're gonna have to deal with, but there's a reason why people choose to be journalists.
Yep.
And I feel like I was talking about this the other day, and I talk to my coworkers about this all the time. I feel like a journalist's job is kind of like a service in a way. Like we're doing the community a service, whether they see that or not. That's
Sure.
just my opinion. So I don't want to hinder anyone who's thinking about joining the field or who's getting this degree. I don't want them to think that like this is going to be rough or tough
Sure.
and not worth
Yeah.
it, because it is. It's going to be worth it's everything that I have done up until this point has been worth it and has been a reward. I won awards? No. And that's fine. I don't have to win an award to feel satisfied for the job that I have done
Sure.
every day.
Absolutely.
So, to answer your next question, you said what advice I would have, right?
Yes.
Or how have I gotten to where I am? I think I had to realize real quick that I had to be okay with someone critiquing my work. Not everyone's gonna like my work. I'm not always gonna like everyone else's work. And I found out real quick, as I was shadowing people that were already in the field before I graduated college, that like critique is okay, it's healthy. You need to accept it, and it will make you better. And I don't see a lot of critique being given like at all. But then again, I don't see a lot of people that are in the newsroom day to day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I feel like the one thing that I have learned is you have to be open to critique and you have to be okay with harsh criticism, because I feel like sometimes to get points across, you kind of have to just say it like it is. And that's who I am. I will tell you how it is because I have learned that no one's going to listen unless you have the voice that demands the attention.
Absolutely.
And that sounds kind of like, I don't know, that sounds kind of like cocky maybe, but that's just, I've worked in 4 markets. And I think the only way that I have ever felt like people were going to listen is if I demanded them to listen. Not in a mean way. Has some of my critiques come off mean? Probably. Wasn't meaning to be mean? No, I didn't mean it. But I did it because that is the criticism I got. It was harsh, but it made me sit and think about it, and that's what made me
Right.
better. So, all that to say, I just have worked with a multitude of people, multitude of different personalities. And that is the one thing that has been constant is like, I'm say what I mean and I mean what I say. And as a producer, you have to have that ability. You have to have the ability to stand up for your work. You have to give a reason why you picked this story over that. And you have to be able to like say, hey, okay, I think you think that this should be, here, or we should do this instead. But this is what I think and why.
Okay.
And I don't know, that's just gotten me to where I am.
I love it. I love it. The one thing I do want to say, I totally agree with what you said about discouraging anybody from this industry. There's no industry I'd rather be in than the journalism industry. Being a sports reporter, sports journalist, I love that. But there's always an A side and a B side. You got to be mentally tough to be able to deal with the B side. The
Mhm.
A side is more than likely going to outweigh the B side depending on your situation. But there are some people that have left the industry. So I love to throw that behind the scenes perspective in there because people should know. They definitely need to know for sure. On here with Elizabeth Gabbert, morning show producer based out of Nashville, Tennessee, on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is now time, Elizabeth, for this or that. Okay.
Okay.
So basically, what we do here is we throw two things out, and you get to choose this or that. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. Popeyes or KFC?
Oh, Popeye.
Okay, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. We're off to a good start. Do you eat chicken wings?
If I have to.
Okay. Reason why I asked, because this is the flavors. Barbecue or lemon pepper?
Oh, barbecue.
Okay. Wet or dry?
Wet.
Okay. Do you like your wings bone in or boneless?
Depends on where I'm buying them from.
Okay. Well, think about your favorite place.
Probably boneless. Less
Okay.
of a mess.
I'm with you. I like that. I like it. I like boneless too. So we off to a damn good start. I love it. These next four have to do with concerts you rather attend. Okay?
Okay.
So here we go. Which concert would you rather go to? Kendrick Lamar or Drake?
Drake.
Okay, I like that. Which concert would you rather go to? Would you rather go see Morgan Wallen or Luke Combs?
Oh, that's a hard one. I want to see both. I would say Luke Combs.
Okay, all right. Listen, they're going to get a little harder here. Which concert would you rather go to? Would you rather see Zach Brown Band or Lady A?
Zach Brown Band.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You didn't seem so sure about that.
There's only one song I know by Lady A. But one or
Okay, here
two,
we go.
probably. And they're really old.
Got you. Okay. Which concert would you rather go to? Casey Musgraves or Carrie Underwood?
Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna say I want to see both, but probably Carrie Underwood just because I love American Idol and I have followed her the whole time. So probably Carrie Underwood.
All right. I like that. Hockey or baseball?
Baseball, 100%.
Favorite baseball team?
I'm from Western Kentucky. I'm gonna say the Cardinals.
Okay. I like that. Badminton or bowling?
Neither.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Are you bad at both?
I mean, I hate bowling, but I have to be in the mood to do it.
Okay.
And then badminton. I mean, I think we played that in like elementary school and PE, I don't know.
Yep, the birdies with
Yeah.
yeah, no doubt. Okay. Do you need the bumpers for bowling?
I don't need them, but to get a better score, I would prefer them.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I love the transparency. I love the honesty. I really do. I appreciate it. Do you like desserts?
Yes, love dessert.
Okay, here we go. I'm going to throw 4 desserts out at you. You got to eliminate one of these. Okay?
Okay.
So here we go. First one is cookies. Okay?
Okay.
Second one is cakes. So any cake. Doesn't matter what cake it is. Third one is candy. That's any candy, gelatin or chocolate. The last one is ice cream. Which one are you getting rid of for good?
Candy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you love you some cake then, huh?
I don't love cake, but I don't like candy enough to choose cake over candy.
I feel it. My favorite cake is red velvet. That's just me. I'm a red velvet kind of person. Okay. I'm with you on that. Do you like potato chips?
Yes, but I don't have to have them.
I got you. Okay. So I'm going to throw out 4, same format. 4 potato chips. You got to get rid of one. So here we go. First one is Ruffles. Okay. Second one is Lay's. The third one is Doritos. The last one is Pringles. Which one are you getting rid of?
Okay, are you talking like regular Lay's or like baked Lay's? Because that makes a difference.
In your case, we'll put baked Lay's. How about that?
Okay. If you had regular lays, that would be first to go. The baked lays make it harder, but I'm still getting rid of them. Love me some Doritos. I love the Ruffles, even though they break and dip. And what
Do
was the
break a
fourth
dip.
one?
Pringles.
Pringles. I love Pringles. I could eat a whole can, not one because I want to, just because it's hard to put it down.
Right. I know that. The greatest chip ever made, in my opinion, is the sour cream and cheddar Ruffles. That's my chip right
Oh,
there.
yes. Or the cheddar. Straight
Oh,
cheddar.
yes, absolutely. No question. No question about that. Okay. Two more for the this or that. This next one here has to do with concerts again. Which concert would you rather attend? Okay. Would you rather go see Luke Bryan, or would you rather see Brantley Gilbert?
Luke Bryan. I know more of his music. I don't really follow Brentley Gilbert.
That's good. I like that. Okay. I'm a huge Luke Bryan person, Luke Bryan fan. I'm not huge in the country, but Morgan Wallen, Florida Georgia Line, Luke Bryan, I like those guys. Okay.
Hmm.
Last question. Which of these would you rather be doing? Would you rather be a reporter, an anchor, or producer?
I think it just depends on the day. Can I say that?
I'm gonna
No.
need to choose at least one of them, because I don't know what day you talking about. I mean, we're talking about Tuesday today.
Tuesday. Today I would have rather been a producer. Um, Sundays I'm like, just give me the mic. I'll do the story, you know?
Okay.
And then other days I'm like, I'd rather just be reading. I don't know.
I mean, you certainly have the face to be in front of the camera. No question about that.
Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that.
Why? What's wrong with that?
No, people, people, people have asked, "Have you always wanted to be a producer?" And I have to explain, like, just like I was educated to do anything. We had
Okay.
experience doing the camera, doing the weather, doing anchoring, reporting, did little sports reporting. We did it all. And I don't know. Like when I was applying for jobs, everyone always just interviewed me for producing, and so that's where I landed. I don't know if my professor just thought that I was a stronger producer or what, because I felt like we in our rotation for our newscasts, I was producing more than I was doing anything else. And
Sure.
that's fine. That's fine. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like people listening might be like, okay, but I have learned through the years that this is my opinion. I feel like there are people who do journalism to be on TV and get the notoriety from that. And then I meet people and I'm like, okay, you're really dedicated to your job. You're just really dang good at it too.
Right.
So, hats off to you. But yes, I have worked with people that I'm like, are you doing this just to say you're on TV?
Well, yeah, and that's again, that's one of the reasons why I love doing this podcast, because it's a behind the scenes look. Like, it's not all glitz and glamour.
Mm-hmm.
This is something where you have to really love what you do, because in your first couple of markets, you're really not going to make much money, and not sort of money can't be the reason why you want to do it. It should be the passion and the love that you want to do it. But people do see you. People do see those people on TV, right? Those anchors and those reporters. Wow, handsome guy, pretty face, or pretty girl, right in front of the camera, reading scripts, doing this and that. But it goes a lot. There's a lot that goes into it, I should say, to get them prepared to be ready, to be in front of the camera, to read as an anchor position, right? I mean, when you're doing a reporter or an MMJ, which for those of you that will watch this, MMJ stands for multimedia journalist. Some of those are one man bands, right? And some of those are people
Mm-hmm.
that, especially in those smaller markets, right? When you go out there and you have to carry the equipment, set up the equipment. I've had people on this podcast that said they've done that, and they've been really scared at times because of the area that they have to go in to report, right? So people think it's so glamorous at times, and it's really not. So I second that. I second that opinion of, you got to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and for sure. I love the this or that. You were very good at this or that. I love that. And it's a great segue because now I wanted to ask you, if Elizabeth wasn't in journalism, what other career would she have pursued and why?
If I wasn't in journalism, what other career would I have pursued? I don't know. I will say that I I love talking to people. I love kids. Um, I I'm not gonna lie, like I don't think that I could be a teacher just because it's easy to play favorites. Easy to play favorites. I was approached out of college by Teach for America. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
And while I understood the whole purpose was to get educators in underprivileged communities, I love that. But I didn't think that pursuing that path would be fair to the people who do go to college to be a teacher, to be an educator, just because I was asking and I was like, like how would I know how to do lesson plans and yada yada. And they're
Sure.
like, oh, well, it's like an 8 week like training session. And I'm like, that's just not fair. Like my friends spent 4 years becoming, a teacher, getting their degrees.
Right.
I just don't know. But I did do religious education. I taught religious education growing up in my with my church. So I do love kids. I want to say that if I was more into science, I guess, because I'm assuming you have to have science um classes. I want to say I would do something along the lines of like physical therapy or speech
Okay.
therapy or something like that, just because I've been exposed to it and I have a soft spot for helping people,
I like that.
whether
No,
that
that's a
be
great
whether
answer.
that be speaking or preparing them for education or helping them overcome obstacle or injury. I don't know.
I love it. I do. What has been? Give me like a couple of shows that you produced. Maybe some stories that was in within that show that was some of your favorite. Give me some. Give me a couple of your shows that were some of your favorites to produce.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I didn't really produce it, but I going through school and being from Kentucky, I always looked up to um Wave in Louisville, and that's where I used to work. I My earpod died. I can you hear me okay?
Yep, I got you.
Okay, perfect. I grew up looking and watching the Derby in Kentucky. And when I found out that it was like a local station that puts it all together and broadcasts it for everyone to see on NBC before network takes over, I was like, wow, like that would be awesome to do. And I got that opportunity. I got to work under my executive producer who produced it all and got to help her call the shots. And
Wow,
basically, I made sure the anchors and reporters were prepared to go live for their hits to talk about different things. And so that was really fun. That coverage was really long and daunting, but it was very rewarding in the end too, just because we got to be there to watch the big race at the end and like the primetime spots. That was crazy. I'll never forget that. And see, let's see. I don't another show. Oh, that's I've done so many.
I know it. I know. It's such a hard question to pin it down, but you know, that's pretty dope. That Kentucky Derby. But give me one more. Give me one more that you could think of like right off the spot.
One more right off the spot. I'm going to have to say probably a show that I worked on maybe in my first market.
Okay.
It was a small community in the mountains in Appalachia. Those people are the nicest people I've ever met, but have gone through the biggest hardships. I'm
Sure.
going to say
that any kind of flooding or any kind of natural disaster that has really impacted that community. I know that our station was big on community service and giving back. And I know we have done like some fundraising or some partnerships for that. And so any of those shows, I think, really ring a bell to me because you're giving back to your community, and I love community service.
I love that. That's awesome. That is amazing. We're getting down to the last two questions here, Elizabeth. Okay. So, advice. Again, you talked about what advice you would give. What is some advice that someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to?
I think that I have learned that you can't always have an excuse as to why something happened the way it did.
Okay.
If you have a situation that you need to approach it as this is what happened, this is why it happened, but more focus on the solution and how you can prevent it from happening again. We work in an industry where we work with people and talk to everyone, and sometimes it can be hostile. And so the best thing that the best advice I have gotten is no one wants to hear an excuse.
Okay.
Everyone wants to hear a solution. And so that really stuck with me.
I like that. No one wants to hear an excuse. And that's not only about jobs, that's in life in general. No question about it. I love that. What is something that you would like to say or you would like to talk about that we haven't touched up on yet before we conclude?
I could talk about this forever. I think the biggest thing is, I've given my advice. But I also want to touch on this is a hustle. It's a grind. You've talked about it. I will talk about it all the time. It is a grind. And I've worked my way through the markets. There's always going to be something about each market that you work in or about where you work that you don't like. It's a given. Not even just in news in general, but in any situation, there's always going to be something that you don't like about it.
Sure.
My advice is to just always try to put your best foot forward, because guess what? Not everyone has good days. That's duh, but as long as you do your best, you will impact people's lives for the better. And I feel like that is, at the end of the day, when you look at journalism, that is what we do. We write the stories and tell the stories that other people can't tell.
Sure.
And when it's told well, or whenever it's simplified, we change lives. And I've seen it, whether it's an investigation, whether it's just a typical news story. Where I work now, our brand is safety and community. And, the world has changed so much, and there's always so much crime, and one little thing can make someone feel unsafe. And I feel like as long as you put in the hustle, you're going to impact someone's life and you're going to help them out in the end. So my advice is to show up for yourself. And when you do, you're going to show up for others.
I like it. Nashville is one of my favorite cities. Whenever I touch down there, I'm definitely going to have to hit you up. We're going to have something, go out for a drink or something, do something along those lines. Obviously, you are a wonderful, wonderful human being to talk to. You obviously work hard. You do not work conventional time. It's working overnight. But at the same time, you're passionate about what you do, and that's amazing. And I'm glad that you're producing. I'm glad you're producing great content. I'm glad you're in one of the biggest markets in Nashville, Tennessee. and I am now a new fan of yours. So, and a new supporter. So I wish you nothing but continued success in your market and wherever you go next. Like I said, we will keep in touch. And I really do appreciate you for coming on my Work Hard, Play Harder podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Take care now.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye.